Welcome to Stonewatch. This is the Retro Rewatch Christmas edition, and today we're talking about 1983 classic Trading Places. And if you haven't already, please smash the subscribe button and click on that bell so you can notify for future videos. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up. And yes, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa. I know I'm probably missing a couple, but hopefully you're spending this holiday season with your family and having a good time. Now, one of the things I like to do during the holiday season is go back and watch the holiday classics. Now, this year I decided to make a video about the movie Trading Places starring Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy from 1983. Now, I love this movie. I won't say I watch it every single year, but every time when I used to have regular cable, if I was flipping through the channels and this thing was on, I would probably stop and watch it. I mean, I like watching this movie, but I have to say, and I can't tell you the last time I actually did watch this movie, and I went into this movie and I'm watching some of the jokes and some like the dialogue was like, whoa. Somehow it just didn't hit. It just, I don't know, it was just kind of weird for me this time around. I'm not saying it totally ruined the movie for me because it's just a product of its time. You know what I mean? I mean, it was okay, kind of like back then, kind of. However, this movie was still kind of funny if you kind of go, ignore some of that stuff. I mean, I say Merry New Year all the time. I mean, that's like my thing. If on New Year's Eve, 99% of the time, if I'm not going to say Happy New Year, I'm going to say Merry New Year. I've done that ever since I've seen this movie. Now, I don't think I actually saw this movie actually in the theaters back in 1983 because I was only 10 years old, so I don't think my parents took me to see a rated R movie. I mean, and I think there was a kind of like a nudity scene in here and like plus the language and what have you. I saw it on TV, I think, for the first time. I remember seeing this movie for the first time. I'm pretty sure I didn't see it in the theater. However, I still really love this movie. This is like Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy's classic roles from back in the day, like in the 80s and stuff like that, from them being on Saturday Night Live and what have you. And this is not your typical Christmas movie. I mean, is it actually a Christmas movie? It's just a movie that happens during Christmas time. It's not really like it's like they're waiting for Santa or anything. They don't really reference that at all in this movie. You know what I'm saying? So it's, even though it was kind of listed as a Christmas movie, it's kind of like Die Hard is like everybody argues on whether or not that's a Christmas movie or not. It's kind of like one of those type things. It's not an actual Christmas movie where they're actually talking about Santa and all this other jazz. They're just a movie happening around Christmas. Trading Places is a 1983 American comedy film directed by John Landis with the screenplay written by Timothy Harris and Herschel Weingrod. The film tells the story of an upper-class commodities broker and a poor street hustler whose lives cross when they are unwittingly made the subject of an elaborate bet to test how each man will perform when their life circumstances are swapped. Harris conceived the outline for Trading Places in the early 80s after encountering two wealthy brothers who were engaged in an ongoing rivalry with each other. He and his writing partner, Weingrod, developed the idea as a project to star Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder. When they were unable to participate, Landis cast Aykroyd, with whom he had worked with previously, and a young but increasingly popular Murphy in his second feature film role. Landis also cast Curtis against the intent of the studio, Paramount Pictures. She was famous mainly for her roles in horror films, which were looked down upon at the time. Principal photography took place in December of 1982 to March of 1983, shot entirely on location in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and New York City. Elmer Bernstein scored the film with Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart's opera buffa, The Marriage of Figaro, as the underlying theme. Trading Places was considered a box office success on its release, earning $94 million domestically to become the fourth highest grossing film in 1983 in the United States and Canada, and went on to earn $120.6 million worldwide. It also received generally positive reviews, with the critics praising both the central cast and the film's revival of the screwball comedy genre prevalent in the 1930s and 1940s, while criticizing Trading Places for lacking the same moral message of the genre, while promoting accumulation of wealth. It received multiple awards nominations, including an Academy Award for Bernstein's score, and won 2 BAFTA awards for Elliott and Curtis. The film also launched or revitalized careers of its main cast, who each appeared in several films throughout the 1980s. In particular, Murphy, who became one of the highest paid and most sought-after comedians in Hollywood. In the years since its release, the film has been reassessed both positively and negatively. It has been praised as one of the greatest comedy films and Christmas films ever made, but retrospective assessments have criticized its use of racial jokes and language. In 2010, the film was referenced in a congressional testimony concerning the reform of the commodities trading market designed to prevent the insider trading demonstrated in Trading Places. In 1988, Bellamy and Emish reprised their characters in Murphy's comedy film Coming to America. Starring in this movie, we have Dan Aykroyd, Eddie Murphy, Ralph Bellamy, Don Emish, Denholm Elliott, and Jamie Lee Curtis, just to name a few. Now, currently, Trading Places is sitting with a Rotten Tomatoes score of 88%, with 51 top critics so far reporting in. Now, the last top critic to do a review on this movie was December 9th of 2021. Now, he liked it. He said Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd are quite the duo in this funny Christmas film with some strong themes under its hood. So, I mean, like, again, there was some of the humor that's in this movie. You're definitely not going to be doing that kind of thing nowadays. You know what I'm saying? I mean, so, again, but if you can get past that stuff, which, Eddie Murphy was in this movie, you don't hear him really complain about it. You know what I'm saying? So, if you can get past that, this movie there's still other funny things that happen in this movie. You know what I'm saying? Now, over to the audience side, it's sitting with a score of 84%, with 50,000 plus fans telling you what they think. Now, the last fan to do a review of this movie was like, a couple days here before mine in this video. So, and he liked it. He said it was, gave it 5 stars, said it was a brilliant film with such humor. So, I mean, again, if you can get past some like the racial stuff, I mean, it's not constant, but if you can get past it, this movie is still pretty funny. Now, with a budget of $15 million and its total worldwide box office, $126 million, which in today's standards, that's like not that great. You know what I mean? But however, back then it was pretty damn good. So I don't know really why this thing never really got a sequel. I mean, the closest thing that we actually got to a sequel type thing was like that, how the old guys reprise their roles in Coming America when they find them in the garbage type thing and they get the money and they're like, oh, we're back. I don't know why they never really did a sequel to this movie. It made a lot of money. I mean, and Eddie Murphy still went on to have a really big time movie career after that point. So I don't know why they never did. I mean, could you further on the story? I mean, really? And they also got a shout out in Coming America 2 also. I mean, they were well passed away by that point, but they did acknowledge those characters again in that movie, which I thought was pretty damn cool. So all in all I can say is I still enjoyed watching this movie for the most part. I still laughed my ass off pretty much throughout the whole entire movie. I mean, it was kind of cool to see Frank Oz, the voice of Yoda himself in this movie. I mean, that was kind of cool, at least for me being a Star Wars geek. That's kind of cool as far as I'm concerned. I know he's not talking like Yoda in this thing, but just knowing that's who that man is cool in my book. It was kind of funny to see former Senator Al Franken in this movie back when he was trying to be a comedian and all that crap, and he's still kind of funny back then. It's still kind of funny now. However, it was still kind of neat to see that there, and it's kind of interesting, like on the storyline of this movie. Like they don't really specify like how much time that they're doing their little experiment, switching Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd in their positions of like society and what have you. So it's like it starts a little bit before Christmas and it goes a little bit past New Year's Eve. So it's like maybe a couple weeks or 2 or 3 weeks. They don't really say how long they're actually doing this experiment with, you know what I mean? But without thinking that deep into it, this movie's just downright funny. And I enjoy watching this movie. I don't go out of my way to watch it every single year, but when it's on, I'll watch it. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's well worth sitting down and watching this movie. So have you ever watched the movie Trading Places? Let me know in the comments down below. Are you a fan of this movie? Let me know in the comments down below. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's one of my favorite all-time holiday comedy classic movies from back in the 80s. You know what I'm saying? So let me just think in the comments down below.